Ever since they were first added in Java Edition Alpha, nether portals have been used by many for loads of different purposes. Some have made farms utilising their mechanics, others have used them to create networks of fast travel systems, and others just use them as a way of getting to the XP farm nice and quick. But one thing we can all agree on is that we all use them a lot. And if we're going to have something we're going to use just as frequently as everything else in our worlds, we may as well make it look pretty. So today I have 10 different nether portal designs which you can use to decorate them and make your world have that extra touch of magic. Now I'm sure you've seen a similar concept to this a few times in the past, and this is a nether portal sort of embedded into like a natural fantasy style hill. So this you could probably find in most biomes, plains biomes, forest biomes, dark oak forest biomes, any kind of biome really that involves a more temperate climate. It definitely fits into those kinds of biomes. But yeah, I personally think this looks really cool. I'm sure you probably have made something along these lines in the past, or maybe you've seen someone else do it, but this is definitely one of the safer, more easily accessible designs for most players, especially early on in the game. As you can see, I've used lots and lots of blocks. For the hill itself, I've used some lighter grey such as andesite, cobblestone, mossy cobblestone, things like that, and we've got it going quite deep into the cave, so it's about about 3 or 4 blocks thick, which gives it a sense of depth and allows you to walk in really far into the hill before you're actually in the nether, which is a really cool concept in my opinion. Moving on, we actually have a very similar design, but it's for more of a snowy kind of biome, so taiga biomes or snowy plains or even ice spike biomes. Now once again, it's a similar shape, it's just more of a circular dome of lighter blocks such as stone, or in this case it's actually got some diorite and even some of the basalt blocks. I think this looks really neat in different kinds of snowy biomes, but the main features for this are the snow, the dirt and the diorite mixed in. Around the entrance, rather than just having stone, we actually have ice. I've used the end rods for icicles, but you could also use stained glass panes if they don't have any nearby blocks to connect to. And as you can see, it's just a nice little entrance. It's kind of like a crack in the ice, like it's been mined away by some nearby civilizations. Around the side we've got some ferns, sweet berry bushes and spruce leaves for decoration, and the path itself is very simple, just with some grass path blocks and coarse dirt. I haven't actually had too many different kinds of blocks for this. It's kind of nice to have a more simplistic approach for this kind of build. For my next design, I actually took a little bit of inspiration from Whip, who actually built a house within a tree stump, and I've sort of taken this design and used it for a nether portal instead. Now firstly I have an outer rim of bark made up of oak bark blocks, the stripped dark oak wood blocks and the stripped spruce wood blocks, as well as some spruce planks here and there, just so I'm able to use the slabs and stairs without it looking too out of place. And then above it I just have loads of layers of oak and stripped oak wood, just to add that nice stripped feel, like it's not been cleanly cut off, it's possibly collapsed in a storm or something. And then we have some roots nearby, just with the spruce slabs and stairs. Now around the base we do have lots of foliage. We have ferns, we have tall grass and mushrooms, as well as a path made of cobblestone, coarse dirt, soul soil. I'm utilising these brand new nether update blocks, as well as some pebbles with these little stone buttons here and there. For my next design, I decided to go for more of a natural but also man-made feel, so I went for an ancient Stonehenge-like ruin. As you can see, we've got these nice pillars and columns reaching up to the sky, built in this almost natural but also really man-made, really jagged structure. I really love this design. It uses 2 pillars or columns, or whatever you want to call them, with a third horizontal, I guess, wedge of stone built on top of it. Now you could actually make this into a more newly built one if you have, say, a maybe medieval style of Minecraft world or a fantasy style just to make it seem a bit more recent, or you could go for a more ruined look like I have here. I've used loads of slabs and stairs to make it seem crumbled, little blobs of stone on the floor to make it look like bits have fallen off or chunks have fallen down and eroded away. All sorts of different designs here that I really like. And this is probably my favourite design. I've also utilised the soul soil here with loads of brown scale blocks around the base just to add that worn out feel. Maybe lots of tourists or lots of people who like these old ruined structures have walked around here a lot. Or maybe it's just eroded by all the crumbling stones. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favourite designs. I've also used a gradient here. I've got some mossy cobblestone near the bottom with some darker blocks like the cobblestone, moving up to andesite, still a bit of cobblestone but mostly andesite and cobblestone, ending off with stone and andesite with only the occasional bit of cobblestone at the top. But yeah, this is a really nice design. I hope you like this, and you could really add these pretty much anywhere. Even in a snowy biome, these would make a little bit of sense. Following on from that ancient ruined theme, I've gone for more of an Aztec style temple, and I was also inspired by Just That Finley, my Discord server, who decided to go for like a shrine or a temple kind of structure. Now, I went for an Aztec temple. You could go for like an Egyptian pyramid, that would also work just as well. And I've got some staircases surrounded by an overgrown set of cubes just stacked on top of each other with grass and ferns and invasive species of plants just covering the whole area. And right at the top I have the nether portal, which you access with stairs. And once again, you could go for a more repaired one that hasn't actually ruined if you're going for that style of build in that era of time, I guess. If you're building in an Aztec style, then it doesn't necessarily have to be ruined, but I felt this looked best for what I was going for in this build. But yeah, I personally think this looks great. It once again goes well with this and works with a lot of different biomes, particularly the jungle biome. And yeah, I'd like to see what you come up with if you ever decide to do something along these lines. Now, I've kind of gone out of my comfort zone here with a futuristic style of build. I don't really do that too often, but maybe I should, because I really like how this turned out. I've got one big under-detailed pillar here. I personally think this clean contemporary feel definitely makes it a lot better rather than those of detailed buildings, although alternatively you could make like a dystopian future portal with vines covering it like it's a ruined civilization. I guess that could work as well, but in this case I've gone for a very clean futuristic style. I've got two towers. I really like what I've done here with these jack-o'-lanterns and the orange terracotta surrounded by orange stained glass. You could also, I suppose, use the new shroom lights in with this. This could work as well. I've just got some very simplistic, very, I guess, stylized types of patterns. Around the base I've got some like electric-y wire things with the yellow stained glass and the yellow concrete. And I've also used the warp roots with the grey stained glass just to create like a flowing animated feel for this as well. I'm not sure how well that works. It probably would look a bit better with the connected textures with the glass, but I think it works kind of well. I've also used a bit of purple that goes well with the portal, just mixing in with the white. But as you can see, I've just got lots of big solid colours, very few actually textured colours like this andesite here. Most of them are like concretes and terracottas, things that don't have too much texture whatsoever. Moving on, we definitely had to have a structure like this, and I was kind of inspired by Hermitcraft Season 5, but let's be honest, loads of worlds will have a design like this, where the nether is just crawling out of the portal and taking over the land around it. Now, around the base I have some netherrack, soul soil, crimson nylium. I still need to get these names right, I hope I got that right. And the red nether bricks, as well as the soul soil, soul sand, and the crimson fungi. I've also got a few flames here to suggest destruction. And I've got loads of grass just to suggest it's seeping into the grass around it. You could even have some buildings around it with these tentacles tearing them apart. For my 8th design, I have an Atlantis style of build, and this was suggested by starting out in my Discord server. And this is quite similar architecturally to the Stonehenge build, just because it has a chunk of stone, or in this case prismarine, on the top with 2 columns at either side with the nether portal right in the centre. Now for the top of the build, I have a trim of prismarine with dark prismarine and also the warped planks in the centre, and for the columns I have some prismarine mixed with prismarine stairs just so that acts like chips in the side of the columns. I did try using some stripped warped stems alongside this, but it didn't look too great in my opinion. You could also go for a sandy base like it's still sunken, or you could go for a cleaner, more lived in style of build, just to suggest like it's not sunken quite yet, there are still people living in the city. Now you could actually go a different route. You could replace this with some sort of quartz or some sandstone to create like a Roman or Greek kind of architecture. Whichever route you go, I'm sure it would look great nonetheless. Moving on, for my penultimate design, this was once again suggested by starting out in my Discord server. This is just a nice simple bedroom. There's a bed. It is actually a functional bed, but that's for another video. I've got a lamp, a painting, some bookcases, but we've got an unusually large cupboard right in the centre, and this would be a portal to Narnia. And the bedroom's quite simple. This is just a very ordinary looking bedroom. You can copy the design if you want, I really don't mind. It's not too difficult to replicate, but the main thing for this would actually be the style of build behind the portal. So when you get into the nether, excuse the brief lag, you can have some piglins running in the snow with some just loads of different trees towering above you. And this is quite a small nether hub here. You could expand this quite a lot. By the way, I didn't actually spawn him in here. He must have spawned him himself. But this is actually a really cool design, especially if you expand it out into a whole network of Narnia style tunnels. And for my final design, I admit we do have a tiny bit of redstone. I wouldn't suggest copying this. I'm sure you could do a much better job because I'm just extraordinarily awful at redstone. But we have a TARDIS design, and no, it doesn't actually have to be a TARDIS. You could just have a brick wall with a secret entrance, but we've got some bins around the side. All you need to do is open and close the lid of one. I've actually used this crimson door because it's a nice blue colour, but I'm going to move it to one side for a second. You open and close the trapdoor. This should open, and you should end up in the portal. Now you might have to actually light the portal because you will need to actually get out. So you'll light the portal, and if you need to get out through that portal, you can just open this lever, do that super quickly, wait for it to open, get out, and it didn't actually work that time. But there we go, we are out again, and it's a pretty seamless entrance. If you don't want to attract too much attention, you don't need to use the TARDIS design. You could just use a brick wall, but I thought this looked pretty cool anyway. And there we go, 10 different designs for nether portals that you can use in your survival world. This actually works pretty well for a number of scenarios. I've tried to cover more natural looking worlds, more medieval styles, more ruined, and even more futuristic or contemporary styles, so I hope you found something that floats your boat in this. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please, as usual, leave any more suggestions down below. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.